business, did the rest of the members get a copy of the minutes for those November 10th and
Yes.
January 12th? You do have copies?
Yes.
Have you had a chance to go through them? Anyone care to make a motion? Are you ready?
Make a motion on November 10th meeting, approved as written. I'm sorry. November 10th minutes, make a motion to approve as written.
Second.
Made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? Is everybody here?
And the minutes of January 12th, make a motion to approve as written.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Barrett, would you mind introducing the gentleman beside yourself? Since I know one other, and yourself, but I don't know the other two gentlemen.
Certainly. To my far left is Michael Fitzgerald, serving as our clerk, Mike Baptiste, John Cronin, and George Barrett, serving as your chair. Thanks.
Thank you.
That's that. That's that. Item B, the minutes for the bill of the American Planning Association, that's been taken care of. Item C, Serped Technical Assistance. We are late in requesting technical assistance for the spring, but we were advised to get the application in should they get any time freed up later in the year. So if we have any projects we want like Serped to work on, forward them to me, and we'll get on the list. Discussion on item D, discussion on the town meeting article regarding affordable housing. Is there anyone here that, I don't know if you got a chance to read that. It was seeking a special act to include mobile homes in the affordable housing count. They will be coming forward for a little more formal presentation to us, I think, but we'll have to save our questions and answers for that time, I guess. E, a discussion, Best Friends Preschool on the revised lighting plan. If you recall, the absence of those, or the removal of those islands and the interior lights created a dark spot through the center. What the company that designs the lighting has suggested is putting 2 LED floods on these 2 poles. And it was described to me as going on top of the existing fixture. So the existing fixture would be shielded and this would sit on top of it. And this would bring all your lighting levels up to or exceeding the minimum security, which is a 0.5 is what the company recommends for enhanced security, I think is the name they use. And that brings it all up to, and the rest of the lights would be shielded so as not to overflow onto the other property.
And it's just on this side, not on this side?
Right. These 2 poles would have the floods.
Yeah.
And the existing lights would get a little better back shield on them, what was described to me. I hit everything.
And it's been certified by an engineer?
Yeah, the company that,
But will they give us
Does-
a revised plan showing that?
that's
Yeah,
what,
this
that's
is
what
that
this
is
is.
it.
That's got the new numbers on it there, showing that it comes to the,
Yeah.
Correct.
That's
So
fine.
if you're good with that,
I'd make a motion to accept the revised plan as presented.
second.
Thank you, gentlemen.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Was that supposed to be on time?
Hmm?
Was that supposed to be on time?
I would suggest you put them on a timer, that's quite a bit of
Yeah,
water.
they're on town, we'll shut them off right now, because they're still on. Thank you.
Next is the,
That's the one on Queen Neck Road?
no,
Is that too long?
we've got the engineer's report on Eleanor Estates, but I guess we could take that up when we open the public hearing for
By the
that.
cemetery. Eleanor's Estate's the one that Seventh. By Cliffs Road?
Oh. Yeah, I have to.
And the discussion on the Bay Point regarding the definitive plan and special permit. Let me see if I can find the scorecard on the. What the applicant has requested is, there's several overlapping actions taking place here. You have a definitive plan, subdivision plan, a special permit, and you have special permit site plan review. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And the bylaw that was passed on the conference recreational was a little vague as far as the permits and the fees. There was a single, I think, $350 fee for the preliminary plan. And then it was kind of silent on the rest of the permit fees, so. So with that, I will.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Lawrence Winokur. For the record, counsel to Bay Point Club LLC. And with me tonight is Tim Fay, president, who's seated to the rear, and Tom Furtado, seated to my right. He's vice president and director of development. You've had some exposure to this plan via the preliminary plans, excuse me, and their desire to get permits for mixed-use development. Bay Point Club LLC owns the property on which the Bay Point Country Club lies. It's a public 18-hole golf course situated on the northerly side of Onset Avenue, and perhaps many, if not all of you, are familiar with it. There's a pro shop, restaurant in the facility, banquet, function hall building, hosting weddings, meetings, and private events. The development will include 62 lots with 94 units, encompassing 60 single-family units, 7 duplex buildings, 14 units, and 5 fourplex buildings, or 20 units. In addition, approximately 3,123 linear feet of new roads and 2,277 linear feet of improved roads will be constructed for the development. The parcels contain 141.59 acres, and the proposed development encompasses approximately 35 acres of that total. The applications that are being filed to construct those 94 units on 62 lots are, number 1, site plan approval, number 2, special permit approval, and number 3, subdivision approval. The filing fees for these applications are as follows. Site plan approval is $500 plus $20 times 91 units. And there is, the first 2 or 3 at each of these is free, so to speak. And then that's where the 91 and 92 are less than the 94. And that total for site plan approval is $2,320. The special permit approval is basic $300 plus $50 times 92 units. Again, you get the first 2 free. And that total is $4,900. And subdivision approval is $750 plus 75 times 62 units, plus $3,122, or a grand total of $8,522. We're requesting a waiver or one or more of these fees. Each fee would appear reasonable if the approval associated with that fee were the only approval needed. However, on a project where all 3 approvals are required, all of the fees cumulatively are really duplicative. And our suggestion is the following, that site plan approval, a fee of $2,320, special permit approval of $4,900, and subdivision approval $1,302 for a grand total of $8,522. And if this were done, it would be the functional equivalent of collecting the largest of the 3 filing fees, or $8,522. The engineering review fee, of course, will be paid in addition to this. You have a right to waive all or as much of the subdivision fees as you wish under Chapter 41, Section 81R. So in short, and you know far better than I that as these applications appear before you, many of them cover the same ground and the same project, whether it's site plan review, special permit, subdivision. And when you get all the plans in bulk, Charlie Rowley reviews them all, and you'll consider all of the elements. And basically, it's one project. Admittedly, there are 3 different permits that are required. But it seems to me that our request is reasonable because we're asking for a reduction, yet the amount we want to pay is the highest of the 3 that would be submitted, or the $8,522. We hope that you would consider this because it is a lot of money. They will be paying an additional $4,000 or $5,000+ for review fees, a minimum. And when all is done, I think if the board sees fit to approve it, you'll have a project in town that you can be proud of, a lot of tax money, and so forth. So we hope that you'll give favorable consideration to this request.
Questions? Comments, maybe?
I mean, you're looking at a total of almost $16,000 in fees for, but basically, with some minor exceptions, the same review. And I'm not talking about review fees, of course, that's very important. But these things piggyback on one another. It's one project, it's 3 permits, and yet, literally, if you read the bylaw and the regulations, it's a total of almost $16,000. A lot of money.
Everyone's deep in thought, I can tell. How does the board feel about this proposal, or somewhere in between, or?
I don't fully understand the process of, as Mr. Winiger pointed out, that they kind of piggyback on each other, as I haven't seen this process in action, so I guess my question is what is it that I don't know about how this all works as far as the site plan approval, the special permit approvals, and the subdivision approvals? Are they truly all the same?
I'm not suggesting they're all exactly the same, don't misunderstand me, but I think, and Charlie's here, you could ask him, but an awful lot of each one is found in the others. I mean, you look at the special permit, a number of things that you will be looking at under that section of the bylaw are things you will look at under site plan approval. And then the subdivision regulations are what they are, and the roads and all of the drainage and everything else will be looked at very carefully. If this were not a subdivision, and if it were simply a special permit, and yet there were a construction, say hypothetically, of a multifamily project, all of those things like drainage and all the other things that you might see in a subdivision review would be found there. So there's a lot of interplay and overlap.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie, do you agree that that's a fair statement?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just seemed, under the circumstances, that where you have so much of that overlap and duplication, that a request for a reduction was fair in this situation. And again, we arrived at it by picking the highest of the 3 and then seeking a waiver under Chapter 41 for the difference of $72.20.
It'd basically be one group of, all 3 approvals will take place during the same hearing process. It'll all be simultaneous.
One ad,
Mhm.
one hearing.
These fees were generated by the amount of time the planner would have to spend reviewing.
Right.
That's one of the things that was involved in the calculation.
Has the planning board ever approved such a request before?
That, I couldn't tell you. I don't remember it happening. It may have, but you aware of any?
No, not offhand.
I got, Counselor, one question. Have you taken a look at your building permit costs yet for the 94 units?
I can't tell you what that'll be, but it'll be substantial.
Right. Cards on the table, you're gonna be back looking for a break on permit fees where you got 94 units in less than 94 buildings?
No, we have several multi-unit type buildings, but no, building permits are per structure, and we certainly will proceed through the building department as required.
I don't think there's any waiving of permit fees.
No, is there sewer down there?
Yes.
They will be extending into that.
Public sewer and,
Yeah.
Right. And the I forget how it was worded, it's a few years ago since I did any of that sewer stuff. But there's quite a cost for sewer to,
This is
so,
system development fees.
yeah,
Plus the annual costs are not
Right.
inconsequential.
okay.
Yeah, there will be substantial fees generated as this goes forward.
Mhm.
I think that's safe to say.
Well, I saw, council turn to Mr. Rowley, who I've dealt with for numerous years here, and he seemed to shake his head that it was a reasonable argument. I don't have a problem giving them a break out of the gate. The fees and building permits and sewer stuff that they're gonna be paying is gonna be phenomenal, so let's get them started quick.
Anyone else? Has anything to say?
George?
And thank you for coming to the mic, Charlie.
It's all right. I'm not sure how much that total fee breaks out in terms of the 3 different permits that are being sought.
Mhm.
I believe that the only fee requirements that you have to consider a waiver on would be your subdivision control. Because the special permit and your site plan review comes under chapter 48, which is your zoning bylaw.
Mhm.
If those fees and the rates at which you figure those fees are written into the bylaw, then I don't think the planning board has the authorization to change that.
Mhm.
So, I haven't looked at it, to see how that works out. But you certainly do have the authority under chapter 41, which is a subdivision control, to waive any regulation under chapter 41 that you wish.
Yeah, you're correct, Charlie, and that's where council has, if you take a quick look there, it's, the subdivision approval is the only number that they've cut down on.
Charlie, there's the total amount, that's it in my handwriting.
I see it,
Yeah.
yeah. That the authorization to do that certainly is up to you. I have no problem with it. You have a separate cost estimate for me in terms of the plan review, and I would be looking at all 3 aspects of the application as a part of that review. And that's a separate
Mhm.
separate fee, obviously. But anything that has to do with the subdivision approval under chapter 41, you have the authority, in my opinion, to waive any of those fees that you wish. But the others, I don't think you can.
Right.
Well, any suggestions, motions, questions? Don't all jump up at once.
Well, I would make a motion to follow council's letter here on the subdivision approval and cut that rate down to the 1302 that they have shown. So the site plan approval would be the 2320, special permit approval would be 4900, the subdivision approval would be 1302, for a total of 8522.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
for coming in. Okay.
Thank you.
Chairman, let's bring the checks in first.
Thank you.
Good night.
Checks in the mail.
Fax them over,
Thank you.
Next, we have an approval not required for Perry Gerlach? Gerlach?
Yes.
Pronounce that properly?
guys are making it too much, is that did you, the stone? You didn't come in that stone, or did you?
Say again.
You didn't come in that last week,
No, I was away. I was away. George gave me permission.
I couldn't get out of my street.
Mr. Chairman, the engineer has done work for me personally. If you'd prefer, or you'd prefer that I recuse myself, I'd be happy to do that.
I have no objection.
Mr. Chairman,
I
is that okay?
believe that could be handled with a simple disclosure.
Yeah. Okay, what do we got?
See if we got everything in here. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brian Grady with GAF Engineering. You have an A&R plan before you. What we're trying to do with this plan is pretty much formalize what's an existing condition. This lot we have shown on the plan as Lot A is shown on the assessor's maps as lots A, B, C, and Lot 10. Lots A, B, and C are part of a subdivision, which you see on the plan labeled formerly Bates Bog Road. So lots A, B, and C were on a plan approved in the early 90s. That plan has been rescinded, so those lots no longer exist in a sense. And Lot 10, which is that pork chop piece, is shown on a Form A plan going to the late 80s, 1988. I believe that plan was approved. So this plan, we're formalizing the rescission or the removal of those lot lines shown as A, B, C in the layout of Bates Bog Road and joining it with Lot 10. Those lots A, B, C, and 10 have been in joint ownership for a while now. They're currently owned by Navigant Credit Union and is part of foreclosure. So really, we're just formalizing pretty much an existing condition, putting a plan on record. Putting a plan on record, formally removing all those lot lines.
Questions?
So the purpose is to combine these four lots to make one buildable lot. The property's currently under an agreement. That's the intent of the owner, is to build one home on this property. Totals over 18 acres.
And I think the intent is to use the Bates Bog Road as the access point in the address?
Yes,
that-
yeah,
if I remember
that
right?
would be the access point, and from there, once we determine that, we can get an address assigned to it.
Mhm.
We did meet with Dave Moore as part of this early on before coming before you, the building inspector in town, and he has no issues with the plan that you see before you.
where's your house gonna go, up in the right-hand corner?
Yeah, it'll go up into the right-hand corner there, right? On what would be Lot C,
Right,
formerly Lot C.
okay. So it all becomes one lot for one house.
Correct.
Care to make a motion?
Make a motion to, accept as presented,
Endorse.
Endorse it, yeah.
Approve.
approve as shown.
Yeah, I did give you the Mylar, should be there.
Motion's been made, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Don't all speak at once, see? Okay. Thanks. That's dry. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Discussion, Richard Mann, 3166 Cranberry Highway. Comments on the ZBA? Recommendations, in front of the ZBA for site plan review as well as variance?
Special permit.
Special permit, okay. Pass it back to Michael.
Thank you. Good evening, my name is Brad Bertola with JC Engineering, representing Mr. Mann, Richard Mann, property owner. This project is located at 3166 Cranberry Highway, and we're recently submitted a application for a special permit and site plan review to reestablish a business that was once on this property. Mr. Mann purchased this property around 2000. And had a jet ski repair shop on this site within one of the existing structures. He ended up selling the property and then taking the property back just recently and would like to reestablish that business. The business is most represented by motor vehicle repair, which is required or allowed use under by a special permit through the ZBA. Due to the amount of parking required or needed for all uses. Also requires site plan review.
The planning board happens to be advisory in this case due to the special permit. If it was a variance, planning board would be the granting authority for the site plan. ZBA would be granting authority for the variance. And if there was no special permit or variance, this board would be site plan. But because of the special permit, it's just advisory through this board. The special permit is required to establish motor vehicle repair. The site right now is, for the most part, vacant on about half the site. There was originally 4 additional dwelling units on this site. I have them highlighted on the board. What's currently remaining is 1 existing residence and a multi-use structure with both retail and residential on the 2nd floor. The retail is a non-profit business. What's that?
Yeah, antique shop.
Antique shop. What's proposed is a 5,000 square foot, 4-bay building to reestablish the jet ski repair shop that he had, or he wants to place on this property. Based on the zoning requirements, the parking requirements are 2 spaces per bay for a total of 8. We are providing 9 spaces, one of them being a handicapped accessible space. The site will be accessed off of Cranberry Highway, single 24-foot wide drive with appropriate curb cut on Mass Highway, and will reconnect with Cohasset Road in the back, similar to what was there on the site when he had his business there. When he did sell it, the owner at the time put a fence up along the back property line, so there is a fence there now. A portion of that would have to be removed, but we're proposing to maintain that fence, the remainder of the frontage on Cohasset Ave. That is a stockade fence, not a picket fence, but it's good for screening. Parking is in front of the building. We are providing a 15-foot wide turnaround to try to keep the traffic entering and exiting onto Cranberry Highway. The applicant would like to maintain the access on Cohasset Road. It's relatively, it's about a single lane, maybe a little wider than a single lane, so not ideal for 2-way traffic, but would help out if there's anybody coming from the north to come in the back entrance as opposed to coming on Cranberry Highway and crossing the traffic. Eventually Cranberry Highway is going to be most likely divided highway. The site will have a 9-space paid parking, and the runoff from the parking area will be captured by a single catch basin that will direct water to an oil grit separator. The overflow will go into a bed of leaching pits, 6 leaching pits, 18 by 26, size to handle the 100-year storm. There's also roof drains to capture all the roof runoff so that we contain all the runoff off of the impervious areas. We do provide a handicap accessible, a van accessible spot in the front of the building and a walkway across the front. The parking is right up against the building, so we're proposing spotlights or floodlights, shielded lights on the facade of the building to light up those parking spots. A dumpster is provided in the turnaround area with a fence around it. And the site is landscaped across the, proposed landscaping across the front of the site. When Mr. Mann sold the property, there was at least, I think, 2 special permits that were granted to the prior owner for a couple different uses. One for, I believe, a motel, I don't know how many units, 6 or 8, motel building. And the most recent was a 4-unit retail building with parking off of Cohasset and parking off of Cranberry Highway. Those obviously have lapsed. They were about 7 years old. So
How large was that building that was proposed?
it was about 120, 130 feet long. It was situated in the other direction on this lot.
And the existing dwelling was going to come out?
That one existing dwelling was going to come out as part of that project. So all 5 dwellings were going to be removed. Only 4 were removed, and he'd like to maintain this existing structure. The building he picked, he's trying to, build a new building as big as he can get. It's a standard size steel building, 50 by 100, which is common. It fits best in the orientation as is on the plan. Doesn't really fit in the other direction, just not deep enough.
How high is the building?
I believe it's going to be 14
feet
14
maybe?
foot.
And what did zoning tell you on this back Cohasset Road? What were their comments?
Zoning had, they were concerned about access onto that. People would be pulling in to the site and then pulling out on Cohasset Road.
Mm-hmm.
The plan we presented a week and a half ago to the zoning board included 3 additional parking spaces in the area where our turnaround is, due to the fact that we had originally a 5-bay building which required 10 parking spaces. So we eliminated one of the bays to reduce the parking requirements and provide a turnaround space as opposed to additional parking area to allow a vehicle that's going to drop off a trailer to back into the spot and then leave onto Cranberry Highway.
Yeah, it's only 24 feet. You're gonna be able to back a trailer in and out of those parking spaces to get to that bay?
Yeah, these are small jet ski trailers. It's not a full-size car trailer or anything like that.
Yeah, 27 feet turnaround. There's some room if we need to make it longer. We have a little more room behind the dumpster if that's necessary, but we thought it would be fine with the size of the trailers for a typical jet ski.
What are the parking requirements for the existing buildings?
The residential, I believe, would be 2, and they all currently use, they don't use any of the area that's where we're proposing development. All the existing parking is behind the main structure, beside the main structure, or along the front of the existing retail building. So we're not going to impact any of the current parking spaces used by the current tenants.
Well, how are you gonna get to the 3 parking spaces behind the existing dwelling to remain? Because there's a fence up there. And I remember the neighbors coming in, if I was on zoning at the time when the guy you sold it to came in, they beat him to death. I remember them making him put a fence up and put a gate on it that he couldn't use that as a permanent access, like an emergency access. They could go out that gate. But taking fence down and using that as a driveway, I bet the neighbors down there, if they're the same neighbors, they'll be back in complaining again. I would say not to do it. But my question being is, the 3 spots that are shown behind the existing dwelling to remain and the existing 2-bedroom, the 2-story building, you've got 3 existing parking spaces. How do you get at them?
There's no fence in that area. They come in off of the Seaview Lane and take a left right on the Cohasset.
Well, they do.
Yeah.
I haven't been down there in a long
Yeah.
time.
There's no fence on that portion. There is a fence that wraps around the existing smaller structure, and that was added. It wasn't originally there, but it was added when the prior owner
Mhm.
owned it. There was a special permit that was for that, I think motel use, and that one of the conditions was not to provide access off the back.
Right. But it never became a motel. I don't think the guy ever did anything down there.
No,
No.
no.
Um,
The second permit that was granted about a year later was for retail, which allowed for, I think they had 6 parking spaces off the back of the retail establishment and 18 parking spaces in the front of the building.
I
Yeah.
have a serious concern about the parking, the proposed parking. You know, you're talking about a 5,000 square foot building and potentially 4 uses. So if every use has 1 employee, there's 4 spaces gone. That leaves 4 for customers, for a going business. It just doesn't seem.
It's one business, it's not gonna be split. The building is one open building with 4 doors. It's not
Right.
a multiple.
How many
Business.
people work in it?
Just me, so far.
So you're gonna do all 4 bays alone, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Always worked alone my whole life.
What goes on, just out of curiosity, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind me asking, this existing dwelling, what goes on in the small one? I mean, what's in there?
Right now it's vacant, it was rented.
It was residential.
Right, residential.
Yeah.
It was a cottage. I used to live in it.
Okay, second question out of curiosity, is there anyone living up in the second floor of the main
Yes.
building? Yeah, okay. Well, did you get a copy of what zoning had to say? Did you?
No, their hearing is still open. They're
Okay.
looking for a recommendation from us.
Okay.
You don't have any elevations, architectural suggestions you're planning to do, or?
This was before this revision. This was shown as a five bay.
Mhm.
Windows, entrance door facing Cranberry Highway.
Is there only gonna be 1 man door for this building?
We're providing one on the back end of it as well, the Cohasset side. We haven't finalized the layout since we removed one of the doors, so there might be a tweak on the 3-foot and overhead doors. Probably similar to Kent's Welding, same kind of makeup, with windows across the front, overhead doors on the side.
And your Cranberry Highway boundary, is that the edge of the state layout?
Yeah.
Comments? Any questions, further questions for him?
Well, just a couple of things, flipping here for a second. Behind the building, in other words, come down Cranberry Highway to the other side, what's next to it? Who's the store or whatever is next to it?
There's storage units,
The
just
sto- the
storage units.
Yeah, so the retaining wall that's shown there, the existing retaining wall, you show it to be removed as needed. It's gotta go back, right?
That's, if necessary, gonna bring the fill back in up against the building. It was a retaining wall was installed and it provided a flat surface, but once the new building's there, we propose to have a knee wall of concrete to allow fill to go back behind the structure, just to provide proper grading for surface water runoff. we'll be handling all the roof runoff that's coming off of that, but I didn't wanna create a little pond right behind the building.
Right. Yeah, I'm just, you know, I mean, I'm looking at your layout and landscaping versus your grading and proposed site here, grading, drainage, utilities. I just see one note, you have it coming out, and then all your other pages show it staying. I just wanna make sure that there's no, because now you're down to 11 feet, you know, your building will be 11 and a half feet from the property line. If you have to put the wall back in there or some sort of knee wall, wanna make sure it goes back in there, that you don't get something going to, I don't know the grade.
Yeah, that's,
I drive by it, I can't remember the grade. So I would say that, Mr. Chairman, I would say that that retaining wall or knee wall, something of that effect, if it needs to go back in, it needs to go back in. I know on zoning years ago, and it was years ago, Mr. Chairman, there was a big to-do with the neighborhood about the fence going out on the Cohasset Road. I would say that, I would make a comment back to zoning that, to look up there, I can't remember what the approvals were and what the final things that, I know the man that was down there, he was into zoning 2 or 3 times, and he was fought big time each time. It was a battle every time he came in. So I don't think the man ever did anything down there. But I think if it was that big a deal in the past, I think widening that, I don't know if that opening is wider now than what's existing, but that'll be a question that I would make sure gets brought up. I disagree with you on the theory that you're gonna be able to pull a car or a little pickup or anything in, even with a jet ski trailer, and turn around there. I'm having trouble buying that. I wonder, can we ask our engineer why he's sitting in the audience? I can't think of, it shows 24 feet from your parking space to the berm. I think, is that enough turnaround for a car, right? 24 feet, Charlie? Isn't that the width of a roadway or a driveway, 24 feet?
24 feet is a typical pavement for a two-way street.
Two-way.
It's also a typical aisle when you've got parking on both sides of it, so somebody could back out and turn.
Okay,
Like they do at the shopping mall or something like that, but to make a complete turn
yeah,
within that 24 feet, can't be done.
right. I'm agreeing with you, but I don't know the engineering as well as you. I just look at it, guys, that if someone pulls in off of Cranberry Highway and they've got their little jet ski, they're towing it, whether it's a car or pickup, whatever, they get in there, that's gonna be tight to get into your bays there. I don't know. I think someone better than me's gotta figure out that distance, but.
And it looks like the slab elevation is 30 feet and the abutting property is at 34, so you got probably better than 4 feet because the slab won't be at grade.
slabs just above, right at grade, just above grade.
You wouldn't want to be there this winter.
It's 29 on the site and we're.
It'd be up a little bit.
Yeah, you got,
Yeah, we're at 29 across the site and we're going at 30 and a half, so.
okay, so you're a foot and a half up. Well, I guess that's my 2 comments, Mr. Chairman, 3 comments, actually. I know when you go by that 2-bedroom, the main building, I know there's cars always parked in front of it, and I believe there's always someone on the side. I didn't know that there was no fence behind it, so those 3 spots, that's a separate issue. So my 2 concerns are the width of that turnaround or the width of that driveway. To me, it doesn't make it. And the driveway out on the Cohasset Road, I think that's a concern. Zoning, I'd have to look up their previous permits and go over that. I know there was an issue, but I can't remember all the details of it. Other than that, Mr. Chairman, I don't really have a problem. He's got his setbacks. I think you meet all of those, right? You go down
Yes.
all of those. Yeah, it's 10.3, 11.5, and 20 out front, so.
Could you reiterate your concern on the, I was trying to, because we have a 27 deep parking, a spot across the way where they can pull in and back up into that spot.
All right, yeah, so you're saying when they first pull in, where the dumpster is, so they'd pull in there, and you're thinking they're gonna make that turn and then back in. That makes it, to me,
I think they would back in towards the dumpster and then pull out back onto Cranberry Highway.
all right, well, I guess my question is, if someone's parked in one of these 9 parking spaces in front of your doors, your overhead door, and I hit the lottery and I buy a jet ski and I bring it down for you to work on it, I pull in, and what do I do if there's people parked there? How do I get to your bays? I just drop it off there for you and then put it back
Drop
up?
it off,
Yeah.
open the garage door and pull it inside.
All right.
There was originally parking spaces there, and the zoning board had concerns about bringing a truck with a trailer, and that's the reason why we had eliminated a bay, which would reduce the parking requirements and allow me to put in a place to back a vehicle.
When you say you removed a bay, all you did was take down a wall, right? You didn't shrink the
Uh,
building down.
No,
One
removed
door.
a door,
One
Right.
garage,
yeah.
yeah.
So you did, okay.
Creative engineering.
Mr. Mann, there won't be any, of your customers' jet skis left outside, everything will be inside of this building?
No, we're gonna plan on everything inside.
My concern is parking, just, not so much for Mr. Mann, because he said he's gonna be a small operation himself, maybe a helper or whatever, but at some point in time, Mr. Mann's not gonna own this property, and it's a 5,000 square foot building now, and those people probably aren't gonna be Mr. Mann. So, and I can just tell you from my own experience, I have a 5,000 square foot building in another town, similar business, by the way, and the town required that I put in 26 parking spaces. So I have a serious concern with 9 spaces, to be honest with you.
If there's a change of use, it's gonna need a permit, and then it'll be reviewed at that time if it's
It's-
adequate for
It's
that.
too late at that time. Right now is the time to address on any of my concerns, for me. I don't want to, 10 years from now, when Mr. Mann's retired and going away into the sunset,
Yeah.
and someone wants their business there, and they're gonna need 15, 18, 20 parking spaces, that's an issue for me. I don't wanna see another Meineke, to be honest with you. I think that's a disgrace.
There was no intention
Yeah,
for
so-
that, so.
So,
Yeah, and the effectiveness of parking spaces in front of overhead doors, I know that
antique shop. There used to be
And it
4
does look,
apartments here, and they took them down. He wants to put in
a little more,
building, 9 parking spaces.
it's overbuilt, really. It's too much going on in one piece,
Jet ski,
one lot that I can see.
jet ski.
It looks better on paper than it does in person, I'll say that.
He wants to leave this.
Yeah.
The site looks awfully small.
This is a mixed use building, the antique shop.
Any other comments you think they need to address, and we want to forward to CBA?
Well, he says he's got 20 feet, 5 inches setback from the front.
Biggest problem, I think, as Mr. Cronin said earlier, I vaguely remember some of it when it came before us, Cohasset Street Road, in the back. The concerns about the apartment on the second, and the big building, the main building. There was a lot of concerns about that. The neighbors were quite
Right,
upset.
yeah. Oh, I remember them, they were organized. I could never figure, sitting at those meetings, why they beat him up so bad. They didn't want anything done with the property, nothing. They just
No.
wanted it like
No.
mowed grass and leave it there,
No.
but
Make
that's
a big
just the
island out of it,
neighbors, you know.
basically, yeah.
Well, I think there was a problem with the other owner with debris and stuff piled up.
Yeah, I
out there.
fixed a lot of stuff since I've taken the property back, and there happened to be one bad tenant in there, which, yeah, they are no longer there anymore. So I've made quite an effort to reorganize that place over there, tidy it up.
The state road marking here that you show on this plan, is this the extent of the state road, or is this current condition? Because my understanding is at some point the state is gonna widen that road and do some work on that road. Are you gonna lose some of that frontage?
I haven't looked at that,
That would be a concern, since you've, you know, got 5 inches more than you need for a minimum.
So guys, let me ask you a question, the applicant and the engineer. So the existing dwelling to remain that's vacant right now, you're dead set on keeping that?
Yeah, I'd like to keep it. If
Yeah,
possible.
well, yeah, your parking, I hate to be a stick in the mud, but I think your parking in front of the bay doors is not right. That's my personal opinion, but there's engineers that can solve that. The 50-foot building, I mean, maybe you cut that down to 40 feet, and it gives you 10 more feet away from the existing dwelling, so maybe that'd help you. But, Mr. Chairman, I'm just one individual, I'm not buying the parking in front of the garage doors, because if he has a employee or 2 people come in, and I mean, that's, you're working backwards. If someone comes in with a jet ski, you gotta move your cars to get the things into the bays. It doesn't make sense to me. Now, Mike, you just mentioned Meineke. I mean, you pull into Meineke, his cars are all on the right, but he can.
They're parked on the dirt in front of the building.
I understand. But what I'm getting at is the bay doors, however many, he's got 8 or 9 or 10, whatever he's got down there, you can drive in the driveway and pull in or out of any bay.
Mhm.
This property here, you pull in off the highway, right? And there's cars parked there. Where do you go?
You don't.
You're deadlocked. And you're deadlocked if we make the comment that the fence still needs to be maintained, that they can't have free access to that back road. Now, the neighbors that complain may be long gone. I don't know, and I don't care. But I know that there was a big to-do, so I'm sure zoning's gonna wanna mention that, Mr. Chairman. That's one thing we should mention. I don't know, maybe you can push the building back a little bit and give yourself some more room, put the parking on the other side, so in front of all your bays, it's open. I don't know, maybe Charlie or someone can look at this and help them out, I don't know.
The site's not gonna be a retail establishment where you would expect cars to come in and stay there and impact what's in front of it. It's just a single business. I don't think the intensity of this is gonna even compare to a retail establishment. The parking is situated, so there is a parking space directly in front of the door, and the one in between, so you can almost park every other one and still have access to that door by, you know, the width of a vehicle to gain access to that door.
I hear what you're saying, but you're also saying to me on this drawing that you're adhering to a schedule or a rule that's in the book, that you need X amount of parking spaces for X amount of bays or size building. So you want it both ways. Well, I got 8 or 9 parking spaces, but we won't use them all. Well, guess what? I've bet 3 attorneys in my 14 years or whatever it was on zoning that they promised me that the 40Bs would all be great. All 3 of them sold them the night we signed them. So I won 3 bets from 3 attorneys. Only 1 paid. The other 2 didn't give me the quarter. But anyway, the question here is, he gets this thing, he gets this 50 by 100 building and all that stuff, and in 18 months he wants to leave. What do you do then? You tell the person that just buys a 4-bay garage that, oh, just leave the cars parked in front of the doors. They're gonna tell you, I'm not buying the building. So it's not working for me. That's just me, Mr. Chairman, it's not working for me.
Any other comments, concerns, questions while you get the applicant in front of you?
I just, signage, is there some place that you're putting a sign?
Due to the setbacks, it's gonna be building sign, sign on the facade of the building.
And, lighting for the parking area and things of that nature, is that?
It's gonna be shielded lights on the building itself, since the parking spaces are right in
Well,
front, so.
Well, if you're not having, if there's no more questions for the applicant, then together our comments and send them over to,
Okay.
when do you go back before ZBA?
The 11th of March.
Do you want your building?
Sure. Town engineer will be reviewing this hopefully soon. We have the planning board hopefully get in touch with them. Get that process going.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes,
Pretty small document.
Next, we have the continued public hearing for Illinois Estates, JAF Engineering.
I have to recuse myself, Mr. Chairman, right? This is next to Cliff's Way.
Next to who?
Cliff's Way?
Yeah.
I think I'm supposed to leave the room. Is that accurate?
Leave your car keys.
His response to engineer's comments. I'll give you 2 copies.
Gave me one. Oh, gave me 2, I'm sorry, Charles.
That's kind of thick. No, so I'm one there. Good evening.
Good evening, board members. Paul Maddles with GAF Engineering. On behalf of Meredith McNeil, we're here before you for the continued hearing for Eleanor Estates, which is a 2-lot subdivision off of Great Neck Road. Since the last time we've met, we've addressed all of the review consultant, Charlie Rowley's comments, and we've also gotten a sign-off letter from Charlie, and the revised plans that you have before you are the revised set of plans that have been approved through the review consultant.
Regarding the note in the stormwater regarding the paving, I don't know that there is any mechanism in place that would let the town, the building department, or anyone know that a driveway or the roadway itself was ever being paved. So I don't think there's anyone looking, so to speak, if it's done 5 years from now. So I don't know how that recommendation would be enforced.
Okay.
I don't know how we could. I mean, we could make it an order of conditions, but enforcement would be an issue. I think it's all, I don't think there is a drainage issue there, but
No, I know the drainage system has the capacity, you know, if you need a certain calculation or a piece of paper that says, if the roadway itself was paved, this is what the increase in runoff volume would be, and showing what the new elevations would be in the rain garden, I could provide those numbers for you. But for the existing driveways, for me to analyze as pavement, I don't know if
they
that's
don't
gonna.
exist, I
Yeah.
understand that.
So I could actually do the entire roadway as paved if you would like, but I don't think I need to analyze the entire driveways being paved and stuff, because it is only 2-lot subdivision, and under stormwater handbook, anything less than 4 lots typically doesn't have to comply with stormwater handbook.
Any other comments? What, keep with it.
I remember it, but I don't remember it. So up at Great Neck, you're coming in on this little cul-de-sac, there's a building here, and then they're splitting off to go to the 2 houses.
Correct.
Is that what you?
Yeah, each house will have its own driveway and stuff. And if you recall from the first time we had a meeting here, the roadway was located a lot closer to the property to the north, which was on the Sutter property. Then you had a bunch of neighbors here that were concerned and critical of the location of the roadways. So we've gone through, we've modified that, we've addressed a lot of the comments of the neighbors. And I think we've dealt with every comment and concern that any of the neighbors did have. And we also did provide some limited cut buffer zones along the perimeter of the property lines to help keep the trees that are there now.
Yes, sir.
I'm Paul Lacasalo.
Could you come up to the mic, please?
Yes. Paul Lacasalo, I live on 10 Cliffs Road, and they put the, a no-cut zone. I just don't understand what a limited cut zone is. What's the difference between, I think Paul explained to me if a tree was dead or
Yeah,
wasn't safe, you could cut it, you could remove it, but you can't am I understanding it, you can't cut like healthy, good trees that are on that zone? Am I understanding that correctly? So I guess that's my only question. I didn't understand what a limited cut zone is.
The way we worded it for a limited cut zone is that we didn't want to have a no-cut zone where the owner cannot cut one single tree. So we left it as a limited cut zone where if there's a tree that's diseased or it's dying and stuff, or has the potential of falling on their house or on any other kind of site feature that they might have on their property, they have the right to go in there and cut it. And also if they want to do some vista pruning for views of the cranberry bogs or something, they have the right to do that too. But we're not allowing them to go in there and clear cut the entire 20-foot strip.
And that's not all the buffers, that's just.
No, that's just basically along the cranberry bog property owned by the roads. We have a 40-foot limited cut buffer zone there. And a lot of that work is basically inside the Wetlands Protection Act, where we would have to go to conservation, get approval to do any work in there, because it's all work within 100 foot of a resource area. The work that we're proposing to Paul's property is along the southerly property line by Cliffs Road, and that's only a 20-foot buffer zone there.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, so it's just they can cut dead trees, trees that are unsafe, but and they can vista prune.
Right, but
They
they
can't-
can't clear cut it.
Okay, thank you.
Well, John, if you purchased that lot, you wouldn't put a bocce court back there.
What's that?
You couldn't put a bocce court back there.
Kenny just has to kick it in 20 feet. Is there anyone else here this evening who wishes to comment on this plan?
Charlie, you're all set? Everything worked out? Oh, sorry, Bob. I was asking Charlie if he just,
I was looking for your initial letter. I see the responses, but I can't seem to locate your...
There were two letters, I think, one of the 16th of January, then there was one of the 26th. Is the 26th letter the one you can't find?
the response here, Charlie, is from the letter dated January 19th.
Yeah, that was basically his first original initial review, and then the one that's dated January 26th was his kind of sign-off letter,
Yeah.
you call it.
That's the one on which I suggested that there be a stipulation that if they change the pavement, that there be some evaluation of the runoff to be sure that there was no problems with it. But in my view, there is a mechanism by which you could be assured of that. Either have the calculation done now and presented to you in case they wanted to pave it, they wouldn't have to come back. Or if you put it in as a condition and it's violated, then they're in violation of the approval that you gave, and you can always modify or rescind or amend on your own motion. So I believe the mechanism is there. It was only a protective mechanism because these things do happen from time to time. People say they don't want to pave it now, but 10 years from now they do. And you want to be sure that everybody is safe, not only for the residents that live in the houses that are proposed, but also for the land that surrounds it. So that's why I put that in as a recommendation. I think the same thing goes with the clear cut. I mean, if somebody in the future decides to clear cut, they're going to be in violation of the original approval. The same mechanism holds for that as it would be for the potential paving of the driveways and the road itself. That's the only comments I had. Everything else, they've done everything I asked for in terms of details and that sort of thing, so.
Good.
That's why I recommended the approval with the stipulations that I put in there.
And you have that letter with the stipulations?
That's what I was looking for. I don't see it in the file. I'm sure it's...
I can give you a copy, George.
That would be great, thank you. I don't know why it's not in here. Thanks.
I can print no my own file. You can have it.
I think you're familiar with our driveway lantern covenant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would suffice as far as the street light waiver.
Yep.
Comments, questions?
I've got one more. Well, same question, I'm just looking at, again, I'm Paul Lycasella from Cliffs Road. I'm just, the house is in that, the building in that circle. Can I just request that where it butts my property be a no-cut zone rather than limited?
That is for illustration that the lot does possess a circle equal to the frontage. It's to demonstrate that you could, it doesn't necessarily mean that the building is gonna sit there or that that's gonna be cut. It just demonstrates that the lot shape factor has been met.
Okay, so the house could be down over there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it could be,
further
'cause
down,
it could be way over on the other side of the lot, you know, it could be up. You know, that isn't a cut zone, so to speak, that's.
Yeah, I assume that was the cut zone.
Mhm.
As I look right out my window there all the time in that area, so, I kinda was hoping for a no-cut zone, so they wouldn't, vista prune it. I don't mind like an unsafe tree or a dead tree, but what good are the trees if they clear all the branches, then we're gonna be looking at each, straight onto each other. So, that was,
Well, you're back here more than.
yeah.
How did you determine to stop there with the limited cut zone? Was that,
Just because that's where, Paul's property ends, so that's where we kind of put it. Again, we're just kind of going above and beyond what we are required to do for a subdivision, two-lot subdivision. So we've kind of done all our due diligence to make the neighbors satisfied and address any of their concerns, and that's the reason why we provided that 20-foot buffer.
anything further? Anyone?
Good.
In that case, if everything is good, I would ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Do you wish to take action at this time on Eleanor Estates?
I would make a motion to approve, stating the two conditions that Mr. Rowley has in his letter that he gave you about, condition of paving, and a condition on the no clear cutting. So, even though the plan shows a limited cut zone, just make sure it's a condition, no clear cutting, and, just in case they do.
I would add
Limited
those
clearing.
I would add those conditions to our regular list of conditions as far as, the length of time it takes to complete the subdivision, the
Yep.
driveway land covenant, a discussion on the waivers. I think we've addressed all of them here pretty well, although we need to vote on, we need to identify them in the vote.
Okay.
Where they're listed.
You looking for
Be on the left-hand side.
Yeah. So, let's see.
What was it on the fire alarms? What was you were asking for a waiver on that?
Not installing them. Typically, they're just in the subdivision rules and regulations to require them, and I don't believe one's been installed in at least 15 years that I'm aware of.
Yeah, it's a holdover, they no longer put in
Yeah,
pole
it did-
boxes in a residential
Yeah.
subdivision, but
Yeah, it
it's
didn't- it didn't-
still in the rules and regs.
Yeah, didn't ring a bell to me.
So they have to request a waiver. Driveway lane covenant, waive road construction. Eight inches of compacted gravel, is it, or
The recycled asphalt.
recycled asphalt? When you do a drainage calculation, I mean, do you consider that impervious?
Which one? Recycled
8
asphalt?
inches of recycled asphalt?
No, it's not impervious. We use a higher number though. It's, pavement used 98. That one there, we might have used like 78 or something like that, or 82. I can't remember the exact number, but.
Anything else?
Nope.
So the motion is to approve with conditions, accept the waiver of roadway construction, which would include the catch basins, street lights, street trees, street lights to be replaced with the driveway lantern covenant, sidewalks, curbs, fire alarms would be waived. The O&M schedule for the stormwater will be submitted as revised. And the soil used in the rain garden will be certified at time of construction. And any change, I think, should just include the drainage calculations to confirm that the rain garden is big enough.
You want me to
Should
include
it
it?
be paved, yeah.
You want me to include it?
Yep,
Okay.
good. Anything else? There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Should've done that before. Discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
All right,
Opposed? Very good.
Thank you.
Typed up.
Would you like to endorse the Mylars today, or?
Yeah, I suppose we can do that. Well, you got us all in one place?
Don't you have to wait for that?
Yeah.
Don't you have to wait for 20 days?
Is that 21 days or 20? 20.
20.
20 days to get the town clerk to sign it before you can record it. The planning board could endorse the plans off.
They can't sign it until the 20 days is up, and the town clerk says that they won't do it.
2, 3, 4.
And we keep my lines.
Always get those things
Yep.
myself. That and that.
put that back in the file.
Yeah. Next, we have the continued public hearing on Griffith Estates. Michael McKenzie. We have a larger set here if anybody wants it.
Check the cards, right? Did you guys check the cards?
We did check the cards in that, right?
Yes, I have
Yes,
the
we did.
cards here.
We didn't have all this stuff.
Right. So technically, we didn't open the
Right.
hearing previously.
That was on the minutes we just approved tonight.
Hmm?
That was on the minutes that we approved tonight. The January 12th minutes.
Find all the paperwork here. With the board's permission, I'll waive the reading of the ad. Since we're supposed to,
Should I, want me to check the cards, Mr. Chairman?
I was just looking for the butters listing here. I think we checked those before.
What's your pleasure? Cards and list.
I'll do the cards.
And it goes too short on the print.
What'd you say?
It goes too short on the print.
Yeah.
Didn't your boss come in his car again?
Say it again.
Didn't your boss come in his car again?
My boss?
Ask.
Oh, I don't know. The summer, when the ice cream's flowing.
Yeah, no, he likes ice cream.
I should hang out with her.
No, list, George?
Hmm?
No list?
There's only four.
Was hiding on me.
Go.
Ready?
Yep.
Robert Brigetti, trustee.
Yep.
Town of Wareham.
Yep.
Scott and Veronica Fitzgerald.
Yep.
And Tobia Pia Rose Life Estate.
And it goes 40.
We got
There's a
two
blank
back.
one in there.
Rebecca Fitzgerald's back and Town of Wareham back.
I'll account for it, George.
Very good. And with that, I would open the public hearing. And if you would, just we're basically starting from scratch. So if you would identify yourself and explain the project.
Malcolm McKenzie from Kingston, Rhode Island. I'm here to seek reauthorization, right, of a plan that was formally approved in, that you have before you. The
Just one thing.
circumstance, as I expressed back in December when I met with you, in the preliminary stage, was simply that I didn't take care of business. I didn't realize that the plan had a time-specific shelf life, and the business partner and I just, that one fell through the cracks. The property has been for sale since about 2008, since the market collapsed, and we were unable to, or unwilling to exercise the construction loan that we had already secured along with the land loan. and I've been trying to sell them all these years, not realizing that even if I did, I hadn't met the requirements of putting the road and utilities in first and then pulling building a permit. So for this whole period of time, I've not only been paying the mortgage on it and interest, but have been maintaining and trying to improve the property in terms of its layout and marketability, and have secured, going back to October, middle of October, concrete bid for the purchase of both lots and the construction of homes, one home on each lot. So I'm here again to repeat, seeking reauthorization of that plan so that I can move ahead after the appeals period and begin the construction of the road and the installation of both water and electricity.
What was the date of the original permit that you got approved? Do you remember?
It's 2000, isn't it the same, it's on there, isn't it 2005?
Five?
Yeah, June 2005.
If I opened my eyes, it would have hit me. I'm sorry.
Yeah. We were, as I mentioned to you in December, we were doing a build-only project just up the road on Great Neck Road, and had decided to complete that, and that's what caused us to slide into the doldrums, as it were. So we were going to initiate this project right after that, but was not to be at that time. There has been, as anybody who's driven that area will know, there has been a for sale sign, 2 lots, 2 3/4 lots for sale out there since around 2008. We've maintained the gravel road that's there, extended it a little bit into the back lot so people could, interested persons could get back there.
Now, your cover sheet shows the roadway layout up against the stone wall. But I think the approval, and
No, we
in
understand.
your roadway plan, you show the pavement or the actual, I don't think it's pavement, it's
Gravel surface.
gravel surface with the
Right.
25-foot buffer to the wall.
We understand that, yes.
So that's accurate with the 25 and what's the look
It's
for?
47 feet. They show a 12-foot wide roadway. I think the planning board's discussed recently something wider, but servicing 2 homes, that might not be as quite as important. These lots serviced by town services? Not town water? Not storage.
They have town water, but not sewer. The previous list of conditions, did that call for any type of study as to whether there was any grave sites located outside the stone wall?
My recollection, Mr. Chairman, of that conversation with the planning board that led to the approval of this was only that it was mentioned that on the abutting property closest to Great Neck Road, there was a very old cemetery site. So we were alerted to be aware that it's possible, I don't know who's gonna say likely or whatnot, but it's possible that there would be something, some extension that far into the gravel road. My understanding is that after Paul Mullen sold the lots to us, he went ahead and did work from where it says existing dwelling over to the gravel road, or the roadway, natural road that's there. And so there was some disturbance of that land from Great Neck up to approximately, I would say, just beyond the W in Way, that part of the road. But nothing, it wasn't paved, or it wasn't, there wasn't any spec about it that I'm aware of. So yes, we are aware of that and are ready to comply with anything that might be considered or discovered to work with the appropriate authority and or commission or whatever to deal with what might happen.
Did you draw those ghosts in?
Yes.
Charlie did. The Charlie ghost.
Didn't they put a septic system right next to the existing dwelling? Is that a mounded system next to your right-of-ways, Charlie?
Yeah, it is.
So there was disturbance there, and
It was disturbance.
they didn't find anything at that
No.
point?
No, and that's the reason for that buffer that was put in adjacent to the boundary against the Agawam Cemetery.
Right,
And it's also covered by state statute, that if anything is found, then they have to report it.
right.
Yeah.
Anyone here wish to speak on this project?
Yes, there are two of us, but I wish to allow Mrs. Slavin to go first.
Mr. Slavin? would you like to-
Mrs. M-R-S.
Thank you. Good evening, Sandy Slavin. I've been asked by Judy Whiteside to read this letter into the record, and when I'm done, I will give the document to Mr. Fitzgerald for the clerk. I, Judith Whiteside, object to the application asking for permission to build on the back side of Agawam Cemetery on Great Neck Road, the McFinney Way. Part of the cemetery is older than our country, and there are many notable historical people buried in the cemetery, including one of George Washington's personal attendants. I object to the application because I believe it is important to retain and maintain the character of our scenic roads, as voted in the town meeting on April 28, 1980, Article 48. Furthermore, the impact on the historic section of the Agawam Cemetery will be tremendous. There will be a reduction of about a third of the woodlands surrounding the cemetery in conjunction with this development. I apprise Mr. Barrett, Ms. Miller, Mrs. Dunham, Mr. Persett, and Mrs. Slavin of the designation as part of my findings in reviewing the status of public-private roads in Wareham. Mr. Barnett, chairman of the planning board, said he knew nothing about it during our recent discussion. Mrs. Slavin and Mrs. Dunham spoke with me personally and also said they were unaware of the designation. In the original granting of the subdivision, there was to be a 25-foot no zone between any development and the cemetery wall. Although I have not measured the opening, it certainly appears that with the 25-foot no disturbance zone and the abutters septic system, there simply isn't enough room for a normal driveway, let alone a street. I parked at the intersection of Stillman and Frank Cutler Drive and looked across the cemetery to where the buildings are proposed to be built. I maintain that the original permit should not have been granted unless there was consideration that both Stillman and Great Neck are scenic roads. I further maintain that the renewal of an expired permit should not be granted, as the permitting authority under which it was granted was not aware of the designation. I object to the subdivision of 2 lots off Great Neck Road and Cliffs Way for the same reason, which I believe is Eleanor's Way. The house is 1,000 foot or less to the east, was owned by the Burgess family, whose contributions to the town are legend. Although it is not an historic district, it certainly is on Great Neck Road. Therefore, any subdivision must comply with the intent of the scenic road designation. Due to a previous commitment, I am unable to personally attend these hearings. I have, however, written to Mr. Barnett as chairman to object, and I went to make sure that these comments are part of the record. Thank you for your consideration, Judith Whiteside.
I was wondering who this Barnett guy was.
Thank you. Sorry, George. I know better. I also went looking. In the fall of 2004, the town granted $10,000 of Community Preservation Act funds to do cemetery mapping. I believe that project has completed. I was wondering if the planning board would be interested in what that mapping showed for the Agawam Cemetery. I don't have one with me. I know it's been completed. It's just a matter of getting to the file at Town Hall to pull out what that map shows for a cemetery, whether on either side of that stone wall. Just out of curiosity, when you notify the abutters, does it make any difference if there's any committees or commissions in charge of the particular land it abuts, or you just said the town of Wareham?
Well, it would be up to the town of Wareham to make sure it gets,
So-
the information gets disseminated to the right
Okay,
party.
so it wasn't, because I am the chair of Minot Forest Committee, which is the butter, and I was not notified. And I'm sure Ms. Rose is gonna say same thing for the cemetery commissioners.
Mhm.
And so I believe I have done what Mrs. Whiteside has asked me to do.
Could I ask a question, Mrs. Slavin?
Yes.
Do you happen to know what the scenic road designation documents say?
No, I don't. In her note, she says it's the Mass General laws concerning scenic roads, but I have not gone looking into the Mass General
But in
laws.
her letter, she said something about designation.
Can,
Mr. Rowley, are you
can I
familiar with that?
assist, can I assist with that?
Did we have something in our folder?
After a road has been designated as a scenic road, any repair, maintenance, reconstruction, or paving work done with respect thereto shall not involve or include the cutting or removal of trees, or the tearing down or destruction of stone walls or portions thereof, except with the prior written consent of the planning board, or if there's no planning board, the selectmen. After a public hearing duly advertised twice, the rest is just legal jargon, and the whole description, at least the section I have here, just says what the town can do to the scenic roadway itself. It doesn't address what abutters to the road do on their property, other than trying to protect trees along the scenic road, and stone walls, and the scenic character of the roadway itself. It doesn't prohibit development, it just states how it should be carried out as far as it interacts with the roadway.
Anything else for me? Do you have a score yet?
Excuse
Did
me?
you have a score? I'm sorry, Beanpot is on, and I was just wondering if anybody had a score.
Not covered in the score.
It's important.
Well, it's not often Northeastern makes the finals.
And what was it, 80 or 80, 1980 or
It's
something?
been a long time.
They haven't won it in a lot of years, yeah.
It's been a long time.
My name is Deborah Rose.
Mhm.
I'm a cemetery commissioner here in the town of Wareham. And I want to also express, like Sandy did, that I feel it was not fair that the cemetery commissioners, or at least the town barn, were not notified about this hearing officially. If I had not read in the paper and questioned one Mr. Andrew Griffith Sr. as to the exact location of this property, I would not know that this was property that abutted the cemetery. I am opposed to this construction. I have visited that cemetery ever since I was a little girl. And yes, I'm older than Mr. Barrett, so it's a long time.
That was a shot.
And I've cut through the property.
Next.
I've cut through the property that abuts it when Mrs. Rennie lived in a house that's on Crooked River Road, and I know the land that's being talked about. And that survey was, I believe, done by J.C. Engineering, and I think the town barn has a copy of the survey if it's unable to be found elsewhere.
Mhm.
But I am opposed because I know a lot of people that are buried in that cemetery, and yes, there are famous people there. And I just don't want to see this happen. I mean, we've run out of space in that cemetery. Why didn't they approach the cemetery commission, or whatever you want to call it nowadays, and see if they were interested in purchasing the property? Is for one thing. And also, you know, I notified the other two cemetery commissioners to look at the paper to see what was in there for a legal notice. And I did not want to violate open meeting laws, so I told them not to comment back to me about it. And I'm the only one here tonight, and that upsets me. Granted, one of them is out of town because of family illness, and she has already sent something to you about this, I believe, an email, Mr. Barrett. Nancy Miller sent you an email about this,
Yeah, I believe she did,
and I just don't...
stating opposition, I don't think
Yeah,
it's detailed.
Yeah, it was about the 25 feet or whatever
Mhm.
that is. And I don't think should be done. I don't think it should be allowed, this permit, for this to be done. I mean, it's bad enough we have to put up with that property that's on the other side, the house that has the horse and everything, off of Stillman Drive. And now we're gonna have to have houses in back. If you go down Stillman Drive, and there's a road before the cemetery road, and that goes into private property. And that abuts the cemetery. I mean, I just don't like the idea of this happening. I mean, enough other people doing a job on our town, and now we're gonna let more? I'm sorry. And I am gonna bring it up to the selectmen that I did not like the way the notification was handled. I mean, I'm not saying we had, as cemetery commissioners, had to get a green card, but we could have got a letter from the Office of Selectmen saying there's a hearing for property abutting the...
It's not in our purview, Mrs. Rose.
Well, whose purview was it in?
Planning board. They work
Okay, Mr. Barrett,
they work under Mass General Law, not us.
because if you checked it on the town website, property owned,
Well, in my mind, you know, when the correspondence like that shows up at the selectman's office, it should go in the appropriate mailboxes.
that's what I would think too.
I'm not there to take in the mail and sign for things.
No, because there was another committee that abuts that too. Mine and Forest abuts that also.
We don't have
That would be a stretch, I think.
No, it isn't, and Sandy can back me up, mine and Forest abuts that.
Direct abutter? It goes behind the cemetery?
Yes, it does.
Well, that's part of the elusive boundaries of minor forest that
But they don't
nobody
abut,
knows about.
right? They don't abut.
And how long have you say you had a for sale sign down there, sir? You've had a for sale sign down
Since
there?
2008.
You didn't happen to see a for sale sign, did you?
Me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you knew it was for sale, all right.
According to this map, Minor Forest is not a direct abutter. It may be one lot away, but it's not a direct abutter.
Well, the cemetery is a direct abutter.
The cemetery is, but not Minor Forest.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I remember when this came before us. Well, the thing is, we initiated a 25-foot zone to make sure there was no graves there, whatever.
So that 25 feet's all clear now.
It was clear before.
There's no trees.
And I think there was provisions in there, the town could go in if they had to repair the wall or trees or whatever on their property, across the right of way.
Yeah, I think there was some trimming to
Trimming,
preserve the wall.
repair the stone wall and this and that, right?
So the 25 feet is clear now, Mike, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, always been clear.
All right, and then the 22 feet beyond it, that'll be what the driveway's gonna be?
Driveway.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt or jump into that. Were you just talking about that parcel from the cemetery wall to the driveway on Great Neck Road that's clear, or something else?
No, just along the wall is cleared,
Right.
you know, so,
I did that, because we did understand that it could be addressed cosmetically, the 25 feet, but nothing structurally could be built on it.
Right.
But be that as it may, that corner was so overgrown that
right,
it didn't reveal the lots. It didn't help me
right.
introduce people to the fact that the lots are right there, so I'm sorry, but
Yeah, no,
interrupt or jump into your
no,
conversation.
no, it's fine. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to comment about that, that the lots and everything. The municipal maintenance is down to what, 3 people? And how can they keep that cemetery and the other cemetery in town clean and do all the other things they're supposed to do? The cemetery commissioners did give them money so that they can now get young people to come in and clean up some of that. But I mean, you know, let's be fair or serious or whatever you want to call it. You have to prioritize what you do in municipal maintenance, you know, just,
They need a lot more help is what they need.
yeah.
I think town meeting needs to stand up and give them a lot more help. You know, you beat those poor guys to death over not cleaning the beach and not emptying the barrels, and
Plowing
don't
the
paint the
snow.
buildings, and don't plow the snow, and don't cut the grass. Poor man's working with a handful of people. The previous director, he worked for years, that man, with a lot less than other towns have. So, you know, I give those guys down there at the barn a lot of credit for doing a lot of work with just a few of them.
Oh, I'm not
Now, that's
saying-
town meeting, ma'am, that you need to go and beat on them to get some help from municipal maintenance.
Well, no, I'm not gonna go on.
No, that's just my opinion. Well, Mr. Chairman, looking at this, I just happened to look at this plan, and it says, you know, 25-foot wide, no disturb zone, and now I hear the other member saying that it's all cleared, and this applicant saying that he cleared it, so they can get to the wall. And then the 22-foot piece of driveway or roadway, whatever he's gonna put in. What do we need to do here?
I do remember a discussion about cleaning up some of the weeds and vines that were entangled along
It's
that
terribly
edge.
overgrown, that corner.
I think it was the whole length of it, wasn't it? The whole
Oh,
length?
it still is.
Yeah.
There's only about 12 feet, 15 feet from the road. That's all that I cleared.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, just the corner, so that people could see the roadway there.
Okay.
And I believe
There's
that,
no plan to continue that clearing
No.
all the way down through.
but I also remember there was some sort of accommodation made if the cemetery wanted to go in and clean the wall up, that they would be given access. I remember that, I remember that discussion.
There wouldn't be a problem, no.
Anyone else?
Mr. Rowley?
I haven't seen his plan.
It's got your name on it.
Would you like to see it?
I don't think I need to see it. It was a while back.
Yeah, it was.
That's when I had asked earlier in the evening, Charlie, I said, what is it? And I looked over at your signature block and it's 05. So I missed that myself.
The leach field that says to be relocated, has that already happened?
Nothing's been done, those,
Oh, but
the Mullen field
yeah.
has been relocated, right?
That's the one that's in the mound.
Right, that's on the mound, and that's where
Yeah.
I'm sure
And
there was,
that abuts your 47 feet, I assume, where they built the stone wall? That must be the boundary, correct?
pretty close.
Yeah.
Yep,
I'm sure they didn't give you too much room.
yep.
What's this? Those two black
No,
ones?
that's, drainage baskets.
Oh, okay. I was trying to.
What is it?
Oh, I'm from right here with this back everyone else, there's drainage baskets on these.
Right.
Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman,
they showed them in
you
the
didn't find the
road
old permit,
plan.
did you?
No, I was hoping to find
Right there.
the previous conditions in here, but I'm not seeing them.
That must be a wet area, a low area.
Oh, yeah, you have some
Did that-
drainage for the road.
Mr. McKenzie, did that new septic system adversely affect your entrance area for flooding in any way? I mean, I know you already put the stone areas, but have you seen any change or any difference?
Not at all.
Worse or?
No. That is,
No,
what
it went to the selectman's office.
little
Signed
issue
for
is
it.
there with water is going to be addressed with the tie-in to Great Neck Road,
Right.
because this is the driveway is the lowest point right now, so
We've got
everything is
somebody in
coming
there
from
now
up
doing
Great Neck
minutes.
down to there, just before the cemetery.
That's basically what this was put in there for.
And so on the, if I'm looking at your driveway and the stone walls on this side, how will you address that area between the 25-foot area? How will that be addressed as far as water and, will that be a pooling problem there or anything? of
No,
that nature?
it's before that, I believe it's before the 25-foot
Okay,
zone
Mm.
where the water is, where the lowest
Dumping.
point is right now.
okay.
Yeah, it's on the edge of the present driveway. On
And
the
you-
right-hand side
And
looking
you
at,
said you have
on the
somebody-
left-hand side, he's already stoned
Hmm,
the front of
Right.
that.
yeah.
Mm.
And you said you've got somebody interested in the property at this point?
Yes.
Have they given you any indication on what type of houses they're thinking of building and what they're gonna look like?
They're just talking about, in the front lot, a 3-bedroom country porch, bath and a half. And speaking to the person's comment about the Grove, in the back lot, just about, well, and this particular person as well, is talking about a house lot down here in the closer corner, not back. The back part of the lot, as well as all of the area to the cemetery wall in the back half of it is going to remain Grove.
Right.
That Grove's not going to be,
Because of the incline?
there is an incline, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
10 foot there?
Yep.
So they're gonna try to push it more towards
Well,
the street side?
their planning thinking, I think, is wise. The road is going to extend some 410 feet this McPhillip Way. The driveway to that back property is going to start right there to move to the house, so they're not gonna put the house
Hmm.
way in the back.
Hmm.
This didn't make sense.
Septic system, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, on site.
in the roadway, Mr. Chairman, that's been proposed, the 47-foot wide area, would a planning board have the ability to not require that once they enter onto the second lot? maybe within, you know, maybe they come in 10 or 15 feet and then start their driveway?
Yeah, you could waive construction of that, and I think that may have.
The things that I'm trying to get reason through are, you know, as little disruption as possible to
Right.
to the land, but also the style and size of the homes. I don't think we can control that, but I don't know how that works, but, you know, certainly, smaller, lower homes would be probably more appreciated than some colonial sticking up 2 stories and, you know,
Contemporary,
18,
hospital in the back.
18 feet, what?
Contemporary with a hospital in the back.
And, Mr. Chairman, my other question is in reference to the cemetery survey, do we need to physically see that before we would vote on this proposal, since it's been done?
If you would like to.
No, I don't, I mean, does it have any merit, or is it just?
I think it would serve them a useful purpose during construction if it, you know, if the survey does
I'm just
demonstrate.
concerned that, you know, we may move this forward for the applicant and then find out that there's something in the survey that's a problem and could cause the applicant further problems.
Mhm.
They're not gonna complain, just move them.
I don't know what the rules are as far as moving,
For the bodies? I think there's strict regulations for that.
Dig slow.
well, I think there's,
I don't appreciate that.
I think there's, I think if it comes down to Native American or something like that, I don't think they can be moved. I think it's
Right.
just,
You have to bring in the Native American,
Yeah.
there's
it's a different category altogether.
Yeah,
You know,
they were there for the Walmart project.
right.
It's an interesting. Well, those are just.
Mr. Rowley, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
In your opinion, would the cemetery survey be something we should look at before?
The lots coming from.
I don't know what it says unless there
Yeah,
was
but
some
mine is supposed to go.
disagreement with the property boundaries.
That's-
Stone wall should
that-
be the boundary.
I agree, but that's my
Those are
concern.
Quite a bit.
Do you think it would be prudent to do that rather than put Mr. McKenzie in a position where, if we move this forward on his behalf or whatever, that, without knowing that information in advance, might cause some confusion or problems moving down the road?
I suppose it would be in everyone's best interest to know if there was any discrepancy between the boundaries that are shown on that plan and what J.C. may have done.
Right.
I assume that the boundaries would be consistent, but I have no way of telling that in advance.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Mr. McKenzie a question?
Certainly.
Mr. McKenzie, I don't know where this is going, sir, and I just trying to think through what I've heard from Mrs. Slavin in the letter and, of course, the cemetery commissioner. And would you consider, or have you considered, approval for one lot?
Financially, when we went through the purchase phase 10 years ago, it was authorized for 2 lots. it would be very expensive. It's very expensive right
Right.
now.
Right.
Uh,
I'm just asking, because
Yeah,
I'm trying to find ways to try to move this forward and help you and maybe answer some of the concerns of the town.
mhm,
And so I'm just asking the question.
mhm.
Did you say you had a sale for the whole parcel?
Yes. At about half of what we paid for them.
Say it again.
You could approve it pending the survey.
Yeah. Are you okay with 12 foot right away? Because it just serves you well.
I do not see a,
Where's it show that?
It's right here, John.
I don't see the list of waivers requested on the plan. I assume they're on a separate piece of paper with the initial, with the original
Yeah.
approval.
Right, no disturb, yeah.
What's in the original file?
I don't have it here.
Should be wider. Consistency, maybe. Well, I don't have a problem. He brings it down to. He brings it down to where you have just to. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Okay. So the office couldn't find the other,
I don't know that they left, I thought it was all in one file, but it's not. I didn't make any decision consistent with the other.
When you did Eleanor Estates, did you ask for Hyman?
No.
Hmm?
You guys didn't discuss that at all.
They already did it.
Yep.
I wasn't here.
They're waiting for a 21-day review.
Did you require 16 feet?
Who did you get my age?
Yeah, nothing was discussed at all. Just
Where did you
Charles,
get this from?
just Charles.
Mr. Dykes, it was in your file. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Oh, from before.
Maybe. See if you get in trouble.
always nice to have conditions, you know what I mean?
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to get into town hall.
Were you looking for the previous approval?
Yeah,
documentation?
the initial list of conditions, I thought they were in this packet, but I thought they were last time we met. I don't see them here, unless there's more than one file.
When we did this, Mark Giffen, I think he was,
For this one?
I was hoping to get in there.
he was in the cemetery, no. Just was concerned about, they were concerned about maintaining the stone wall.
Oh.
in the
By any rare chance, do you
State
have the
right away
conditions
goes
from
from-
your first permit back from '05?
Sorry?
Do you have the conditions from your first permit from back in '05?
I can say it's possible. I
Oh, you don't have
wouldn't
them
know
with you.
for certain. I don't have them right here, no.
Mr. Chairman, could we, either keep this open or for continuation to look at the, previous approvals, documentation, and to also look at the cemetery survey to make sure there's no issues?
That would be the correct thing to do, is keep the hearing open, yes.
Do we have to make a motion to do that?
I know he was looking, we're hoping to wrap this up, but I think more information is needed. For me, just double check something here. Make sure there's no curveballs. No, March 9th is the next meeting.
If we were to make a motion to keep it open, would we have to request that Mr. McKenzie come visit us again, or could we just,
Well, for his own
interest?
protection, he should be here to answer questions, I would think. I mean, sometimes things seem pretty cut and dry, and other times they need more information.
Mhm.
What are you proposing?
That, if possible, that we consider keeping the public hearing open to allow the board time to look at the initial approvals in 2005 and review those, and also to review the new cemetery survey to make sure there's no conflicts or issues, so that at the point in time that the board moves forward with Mr. McKenzie, he can feel confident that whatever occurs is going to be complete.
Just to confirm, just to get a consensus, then the board is of the opinion that it will be renewed. Just a matter of whether there's any.
Can you renew with revisions?
Yeah, because this is basically a new application. We're allowing him to use his previously filed plan. So you could attach some new conditions to it.
Like I said, I just think, like Mr. McKenzie, my opinion is, I don't like the idea of you building that Mac Phillip Way all the way to the last lot line. I think it's two things. It's disruption of land that probably won't be used by the second home, but also it's an expense for the developer who's built the second home, so, if we could shorten that for you, that might be a benefit, and you can run your driveway off of it.
Yeah, whether it was through David, when we were back in November, when I was just discovered that I had to
Yes.
do this or whatever, but my understanding was, and has been to those I've contacted regarding the construction of that lane,
Yes.
that it was 10 feet inside the boundary of that back lot. Were you
Well-
referring here to all the way back into
Well,
the corner?
I'm just looking at the plan I see, and it
Oh.
shows it going all the way, so I thought that was part of your approval. And again, my thought here is less is better.
Mhm.
Well, I think that was the intent, but it's described, I think, in a waiver, which is not,
Yeah, that's why I
which we
said
don't have with us.
if we could see the original approvals, it might say that in there, and
Mhm.
we don't have to revisit it, but without seeing that at this point, I just, I think it might be helpful to you, to be honest with
I
you.
think it may alleviate the chance of appeal, further delay. I don't know if we can eliminate it, but if we,
Can I ask a question,
Well,
Mr. Chairman, to
something-
Charlie? Can I ask a question to Mr. Rowley on this?
I don't know if he'll answer you, but you can ask.
Yeah, he may recollect. Mr. Rowley, quick question for you on this. Do you happen to know, do you have any of the conditions and the waivers and what have you in your records back at your office, do you think?
I don't have any files at all anymore.
Oh,
But
okay.
I could request them, I know where they are.
I was just curious, Mr. Rowley, where you would stamp these and done this, and I see see the letter for the waivers, and then I'm sure there were some conditions. I just thought you might have had something, but,
If I could ask a question of Mike.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
not sure where you're suggesting that you pull the driveway back.
Well, the plan that we have in front of us shows that the proposed 47-foot drive
If we're gonna have a long discussion, could we come up to the mic?
goes all the way. I was just wondering in my own mind whether it would be beneficial to both
No.
the
The reason that that's out there is because you need it for the frontage.
Mhm.
If you look at the first sheet of the plans, it only shows a driveway cutting into the second lot just beyond the boundary of the first lot.
Mhm.
So for technical purposes and gaining the frontage according to the zoning bylaw,
Yes,
that line of the 47 feet or whatever it is there
yeah,
runs all the way to the back in order to accommodate the second lot
okay,
to be compliant with zoning.
okay.
but we could
But there was
waive,
no construction that was gonna be
okay,
Doesn't wanna be-
done for that, other than what you saw on the first page.
so that was my question.
And I would suspect that, if I can put my hands on the waivers and so forth, it probably, references that.
Okay.
And I don't know that the, plans would have been, signed or endorsed without there being some agreement to that.
Right.
So we weren't constructing the whole thing, that was just there technically for, zoning purposes.
My other question is, and again, to try to maybe appease some of the people that aren't in favor of this proposal is, clear as little as possible for the home, but also, I'm assuming the septic systems may be in the front of the homes,
Well,
where that has to be cleared anyways, would that be?
unless there's a provision, in the statute somewhere that says that, the planning board has jurisdiction over the lot, and I don't believe you do. That, I suppose they can make that request, but I don't know that, once the plan is approved, if there's any binding conditions that you could put on the lot itself. So long as it
Okay.
meets Title V, so long as
Yeah.
it meets setbacks for the building and so forth, I think they are allowed to basically put the building wherever they want to put
I
it.
understand that, but after hearing some of the townspeople's concerns, I'm just trying to,
Well,
Figure
I'm not clear as to exactly what those concerns are. This is private property that, Mr. McKenzie owns, and unless there is some, peculiar encroachment into this property that shows up on that Agawam Cemetery survey,
yes,
I think the boundaries are pretty well established, and he has a right to do with his property what he wants to do, within certain limits.
yes, I agree.
Clearly, he has setback limits that he has to comply with. Title V requires him to be at least 10 feet from the boundary with the leaching area, the septic tank. You're gonna put those things as close to the house as you can anyway. You're not gonna stretch it out to the far end of the
Right.
property.
No, I was thinking about the leaching areas.
So, you've got that 40 feet, which is a boundary between where the Agawam Cemetery is and the majority of the old portion of the cemetery
Yes,
that would not be touched with the exception of that little piece of the driveway that would go in there.
yes,
So in effect, that's a 40-foot buffer right away.
right, right,
So, I would think that there would be ample protection, for the town in terms of what it owns, on that side of it. And, that there wouldn't be any reason to do that here. I guess this is yours. I can certainly look, I can inquire and see if I can, get the final, whatever documents that are there with
Well,
respect to the.
Let me check the files
You wanna check
first before you go
Okay.
chase it down.
Thanks, Charlie.
thank you, Mr. Rowley.
So with that, did you make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to continue the public hearing, to give the planning board an opportunity to review the original approval notes, but also to review the cemetery survey, which was just completed by J.C. Engineering, to make sure that there's no conflicts or issues that could affect the applicant's future use of his property.
And I think the only change in submission that we've had since then is that the waivers requests get put directly on the plan.
Yes. Yeah, do now, yeah.
That survey was completed some time ago, no? Thought she said '04? No.
No, I think it was
Paid for?
initiated in '04. I got the impression it was just completed recently. Is that what,
I don't know the date of it, I'm sorry.
was it fairly recently though? Within the last year or so, or?
No, to my knowledge, no, and I haven't been on the commission that long,
Okay.
so I cannot say.
The cemetery, survey?
I'm not sure.
Mr. Chairman, I made that motion, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
So when would the next meeting be, Mr. Barrett?
Mr. Cronin seconded.
It would be
I have not yet.
continued to March 9th at 7 o'clock.
I would second the motion, and I would just say to Mr. McKenzie, I would vote tonight to move forward. I'm gonna second the motion to continue it. You see what happens when the different towns and committees, when they finally hear about it or get the letter from town hall, instead of it being a smooth thing, it isn't. But where two different commissions came in and had comments, and there's already a survey now, I think we should look at it. And that's the only reason I'm gonna second the motion to continue
Thank
it.
you.
Otherwise, sir, I'd vote for you tonight.
Thank you.
But I think they deserve to have the survey looked at. And I think if Mr. Barrett cannot find the original folder, Mr. Rowley was good enough to have someone take a look through wherever he's moved them to.
Thank you.
So we'll get that, but I think, yeah, I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman, to continue.
Under discussion, I would just point out to the parties that objected, I think it's not within the purview of the planning board to just outright object to certain plans that meet the zoning bylaw or meet the general law. What we do is our best to make sure that the plan has the least impact, is done according to the town zoning bylaw, and try to come up with the best project possible without infringing on the individual property owner's rights. So while we hear your concerns about the area and its proximity to the cemetery, I think we feel that this project does take that into consideration and address most of the concerns, and we'll try to address the rest of them.
Well, I'd just like to comment back that if that notice had been properly sent to the cemetery commission, this wouldn't have gone on as far as we're concerned this long. And I was told that it was your board's purview, or whatever word you want to use, to see that the cemetery commission got notified.
No, it may have gone, that notice may have gone to the planning department and no further, because we really don't have a planning
It did not go to the
department.
planning department. It was signed by someone in the selectman's office.
But I don't know if she sent it down to the planning department and it went nowhere, or whether it, I don't know where it went after it got signed. Anyway, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
My journey in Lent is in patience, and I'll exercise that for greater wisdom, and thank you for it. Cheers.
Okay.
It's probably more constructive than giving up candy.
Much so. For a diabetic especially.
I know. Yes.
I wasn't in this, but
Alan, was you on the board when this
Mike
got before
Dykes
us?
asked you
Huh?
guys
He wasn't on
to
the
do
board.
a couple things
No.
for that Lenore.
He's on every one, he went for a great laugh.
You know, next
Off the
quick way.
cemetery. And like I said, I know Mark
I
Gifford did
just
come in.
wanted to give this to you because I don't
And
know
their
if you have
concern
this.
was the stone.
Yeah,
They wanted to give you so they could maintain it.
the
get trees or whatever.
changed all
You know,
the,
stone wall
all
falls
the
apart.
recommendations for streets, if they wanna
All
go
that stuff's
bigger.
gotta be in the old file someplace, if you guys can find it.
Well, I don't know, did you approve it tonight?
No, we didn't. Oh, Eleanor? Yes, we did.
The two lots.
Yeah.
Have you tried to buy it? Couldn't, so I, that stay away from it. Yeah.
What do they want for those lots?
She's asking 3 1/4 for 4 acres.
For the whole thing,
Yeah.
divided into two?
So that's what, two and change a lot?
No, 162,000 a lot. But you gotta put in the road, you do all the work, whatever you guys approved tonight.
I remember when we did that.
I assumed you required a 16-foot gravel.
That's outside of the street.
No, the waiver was for, they came back with that little cul-de-sac with the rain yard.
Yeah, okay. And it was 16 feet wide, the access drive?
You would look?
Oh, you guys are killing me. What's next? There are some things we didn't do. There are some things we did not do. Mr. Selectman.
You've got Lynn Road and Bashant Way on the town meeting warrant.
The other thing,
You're waiting for them to comply with Charlie's last set of requirements. Just so you know.
did they do them?
Yeah. They're gonna try and get it done before, town meeting, because they have weather conditions in order to fix the asphalt.
Charlie, do you know, did they change the application for a chapter 91 license?
Have they changed the application?
Because they keep submitting a plan to me, but I keep getting the plan, but not the official thing where I have to sign off on it. Am I just not,
That's not changed to the best of my understanding.
so I'm just not getting all of the whole document?
Yeah, and they won't approve it at DEP unless they've got a sign off. They'll need one from the building inspector, saying that it's conformance with zoning, and they also need it from the planning board that you got a copy. That's all your signature.
Well, all I'm getting is a copy, I'm not getting the book, I'm not getting the part you sign off. I'm getting a copy of the plan.
Well, then, when it comes to DEP, the DEP will say.
I'll have to
"Where's
see if
the planning
Dave's
board
got the rest of it.
signature?"
It should be from conservation.
Yeah. You all set? Don't need me anymore?
Oh, I don't know.
You gotta find a paper with the ghost on it.
Are we gonna review any of the spread technical
We
assistance
covered,
stuff?
Mark came in on that one, Charlie,
Stuff tonight,
Which
Mr.
one?
Chairman?
when we did that hearing for that road.
I'm pretty sure that there was an agreement
That's right, for
to the town
maintaining the
saying
wall.
that the town had the right to access
Yeah.
the backside of the wall
Yeah.
by his road in order to keep the wall in good repair.
And I thought we had somebody confirmed or checked about, ghost graves or old graves or whatever,
If you remember, Barbara Bailey was involved in it at that time,
right?
and there was somebody that said there could be some encroachments, they didn't know, nobody knew.
So many
if there's
feet
anything
from where
there or
the
not.
straight-
That's
yeah,
why the
right.
25-foot buffer was
Yep.
set up, so that if anything was there, you didn't have to worry about it.
If
But
this
again,
guy came,
it's covered by state statute.
if he came by for his extension when he was supposed to, he wouldn't be going through this right now.
Oh, that's true.
He admitted that. He admitted he screwed up.
Oh, yeah, no, he's a nice guy. You know, he was nice when he came before.
Yeah, and he was not told right off the bat that he was gonna have to send the green cards out, so that pushed him out.
Yeah. He's only coming from Kingston, Rhode
So are
Island.
we
It's
gonna
not far.
review any more of this, Mr. Chairman?
Have you any thoughts on what we would engage, or maybe Charlie, you have anything we could, put Serpent to work on?
What do they usually do?
They've done zoning maps, they've done bylaws, they've done, We can steal them to work in the planning office for 24 hours, 20 hours.
I'm not privy to what projects are going on or what you might have been thinking about to really know.
We could go to work on, the rules and regs to go along with TDR, because we didn't create a special set of rules and regs to go with the TDR. Or maybe we could revisit that and see if we wanna tweak the TDR.
Didn't she come before us twice to talk about the TDR?
Mhm.
Oh,
Sandy.
Sandy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And didn't she give us virtually zero information when she came twice?
No.
well, she gave, she kind of wrote down our wishes and
She never came back.
compiled them, and then got done again by John Whitten, and
There is one thing about that TDR that came up when Makepeace came in here that I had a concern about, and that was the fact that, when they originally showed that piece, they cut it off, I believe at the gas line, so that it had no frontage.
Right.
And I was concerned that they were creating a lot that had no frontage and then saying, well, this is our building area where we could have gotten X number of house lots. Well, how can you get it without frontage?
Right.
Now, they were trying to argue, well, do we need 5,000 feet of road all the way from Time Hornet Road or wherever? No, not necessarily.
but it needed to be
But I
demonstrated
think
on
that
paper.
it
anyway.
needs to be demonstrated on paper, and it isn't, I guess it's a particular detail that isn't that clear in the regulation.
I think the planning board has the right to make that decision. Yeah.
Well, there was some doubt as to whether or not, well, I won't say doubt. I had seen some of the correspondence that dealt with that, but it would make it a lot clearer, because in one section of the regulation or bylaw, it says it has to be a buildable lot. It can't be buildable if it doesn't have frontage.
Well,
We
that
had
was
that
kind of what I expected. I expected a proposal, a preliminary similar to what we expect from a cluster development, where you come in and demonstrate that you actually have X amount of.
Well, one of the things that was required is that they demonstrate that there's no wetlands and that the boundary of whatever they're showing is the piece that they want to trade in potentially is buildable.
Right.
So if it doesn't have wetlands, then that goes away. But if it has no frontage, you at least gotta demonstrate that you've got access to it.
We had
Where
that
they cut it off,
conversation.
it had no
But you
access.
just, right, the infrastructure has value.
Yeah, we had that
You know, that was
conversation.
easily resolved. They could have simply continued out into South Line Road and called that the frontage, and then just incorporated that into the building area and said, this portion of this lot we don't want to build in, and we're gonna take that away.
Yeah.
So whatever that portion of the whole lot wasn't gonna be built on, that's what you grant them the approval on,
Right.
but it would still have frontage on South Line.
Never really got there because
I
they
think they were a little hasty.
they wanted to get this.
Yeah, I guess it's a moot point now, because.
Well, no, they
State
just,
owns it.
they just wanted to, do half the proposal part.
Right.
You know, basically get the,
But in my view, it wasn't, and
They wanted to put it in
resolve
the
that
bank.
issue.
sending, and they wanted to bank it.
Yeah, they
so
wanted to
it's
send
just-
it, but not use it.
Just redraw a line, and it would have satisfied my
Yeah.
concern.
And I was glad they didn't.
Well, we never even got there anyways.
Yeah.
Just kinda made them-
Well, it's up to you. If you want, you can go in and you can clear up some of the stuff you want with TDR. And you can go in and do a commercial aspect of it as well. Because that was the next piece anyways. It's up to you.
Now, you haven't,
And
You can do it
haven't
for
done
fall
an awful
town
lot
meeting.
with subdivision regulations in a long time. You could maybe think about doing something like that.
subdivision regulation.
You haven't touched those in years.
Long time.
Not that they necessarily need tweaking, but there are some things that people are doing today, like the low impact stuff,
Yep.
that there's no provision for in the regulations.
In reference to the, where is it? Affordable housing,
That's an
are
article
we gonna
that's,
discuss that tonight, or do you wanna table that, Mr.
you're gonna
Chairman?
have to set a hearing for that, George.
Does anybody think that that doesn't make sense?
What's that?
That somebody's proposing that, the trailers in the trailer parks, the permanent residences, be included as
Affordable housing.
affordable housing count.
I forget, were they going to require a deed restriction, or were they just considered like an apartment complex where they're all,
They're affordable, period.
they're
I mean,
all affordable?
I think they're
One
all,
of the issues that surrounded that, back when they denied it, was the fact that the underlying property is a single piece of property.
right,
It's,
And those
right,
units are simply leased out.
Right.
I mean, the people who occupy the units don't own land underneath them. And that's what the issue was before.
yeah.
Now, whether or not that can be resolved, I don't know, but
I mean, it does make sense though, doesn't it? That type of housing qualify?
well, it certainly does, the way that it's operated in town.
And I think it fills a wonderful need for,
It
People
does fill a
on-
need, but does it meet the requirements for the way you set up the affordable housing and how you calculate the,
So if the underlying property put a deed restriction on saying that, you know, at any given time, X amount will meet the affordable standard. Just like
If I
we
was-
treated Union Pond or 815 Main Street.
if I was a park owner at this time, would
No.
I be interested in putting
no,
deed restrictions on my
No
property?
way.
no,
I wouldn't.
unless it was a tax
If
benefit.
it was a brand new development somewhere else,
Mhm.
that might be time to consider it, but how can you go back and put restrictions on people that have developed their property and they're maintaining and managing them as a mobile home park today?
No, these are based on the,
Actually, they'd probably see an increase in their rents if they did it.
these
Yeah,
are,
there has to
these,
be a
these are,
benefit to
it's
that.
all based on
I don't have answers to that.
the income level, how much they spend on their rent per se, and whatever, you know, for their income level.
Well,
You gotta go look at the
my
article.
point is, I think they're probably exceeding the standard now, and it wouldn't cost them anything to do it,
Right,
other than if they were to wanna sell it for a different use later on.
right, that would be a problem.
Well, you gotta look at the article as written.
But they can't sell those anyways, with the regulations in place now on trailer park owners, those guys can't,
Manufactured
they can't
housing
sneeze without
park
permission.
owners. Yeah, and they're a cash cow, and you can't just liquidate them.
Oh, the ones that are privately owned, or co-op owned.
But they're regulated, the housing regulates what you can do with those people. You know, I used to
You
insure a
have to
bunch of trailer parks,
relocate,
and,
you
and
have to-
the people that own the trailer parks would be maintaining the park, and they'd want one of the homeowners whose trailer is 35 years old to
Upgrade.
update a trailer. The government said, you can't force them to do that. You have to give them 5 years or some, you know, unbelievable amount of time. It was very strict.
What's the goal? To increase the affordable housing within town?
Yes.
The region, actually. It's not just town, it's gotta be your region.
But it does make sense.
What it is we have a lawyer that used to work for DCHD, who's related to Judy Whiteside. And Alex has explained how you can get this done through a home rule petition. Because there's no way to get it done through the, either a senator or a representative trying to get it through the House and Senate on their own. It's not happening. They've been doing it for 10, 15 years, and it gets put to the side every year. So we're gonna force the issue, and he's given us all the background, what we need to do as far as numbers, everything else we have to put together.
I know there are provisions that you can throw into, especially if you get a cluster subdivision, where you could insist that a certain percentage of those developments in the cluster be set aside for affordable.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Well, there was a point there where I think Senator Pacheco said if we only asked for 50% of the houses to be included, he might support it. That was a few years ago, but he hasn't supported anything at all.
I was gonna say, I thought the last time it came up for discussion, they said, yeah, you could use them, but if you did, you'd have to have 15% and not 10%.
No, it was, well, the last bill was H1115 that Susan had, and it never got off the ground. It sat all year. Never got brought forward, so we're gonna try and push it a different way. We've got 2 other towns that are watching, and if we have any traction, they'll join with us. Carver is one of them, they have 9,000 plus
Yes.
homes, so it's worth it to them as well.
But both big parks in Carver are resident owned?
There was a,
These Piper's resident owned.
the town of Norwood was using a innovative way to comply by acquiring or setting aside
Some land, I saw that.
open
article.
land. And I don't know, I didn't see the first few articles on it, but
Yeah, I'm not sure really that does anything at all, because it's just in Norwood, but again, if Norwood, the region that Norwood's in, if they don't make the 10% in the region, they can still blast it.
Yeah, they're not gonna.
That's the way they get around it. But if we were to get Wareham approved and Carver approved, then the region area would be well satisfied.
St.
That's
Mary.
Bye,
Okay.
Charlie.
Night, Charlie.
They don't like anybody.
You going up to start our vehicles first?
Yeah.
Cold enough.
Did they, on the Bay Point one, are they going to now complete the filing application?
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll come before you at the next meeting presumably, and then we'll set a hearing date?
Right.
Okay.
And I did get
changed
the
it, by the
estimate
way.
on your,
Did you notice that they changed it? They added 4 families? Did you hear 'em? They added 4 families. They were all, remember they were all,
they were what? They were
all
two-family
singles
before.
and twos.
Duplexes and singles.
Now they
Twos
have
were
made a change
Now, the
to,
ones down the end where the existing development, were those
Those are two
Were those-
family.
2 or they 4?
twos. They were all twos. They had singles and twos. And
Twos-
now
twos-
they have singles, twos, and 4s.
Twos were down toward the condos.
On 6,000 square foot lots, you know, they ignored you
Well,
in the letter.
Yes, they did.
they have 7 duplex buildings, they have 5 fourplex buildings, and then they have 60 singles.
He also gave them price break.
Fourplexes, do they fit into the zoning without approval from the town?
No,
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think so.
You do? Cause isn't that, what'd you call that zoning? It wasn't, not recreational, but,
It's conference recreational.
Yeah.
But you set the lot size, you set the density.
who's you?
You,
The planning board does, but you have complete discretion on this.
Cause I don't like that.
Then you can say no.
That's all in your discretion.
I don't like
In that particular
fourplexes.
section of the bylaw, if it was a standard subdivision, you'd go strictly by the zoning, the underlying zone.
Mhm.
But this is a zone that's set up just for that one piece of land.
This requires a special variance by the planning board.
So you have all kinds of discretion.
You never should have given a discount.
Mr. Rowley said it made sense. He's whining about the discount that John gave him. By the way, didn't you ever hear about negotiating, just give them 50% of what they asked for? You know, it's like,
Oh, they give them everything.
They'll be, they'll be paying some sewer charges, they'll be.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
would like to make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned at 9:50.
Mike, how's your carpet doing? Any work?